Heavy later, runway 25 left, vector line number 2, following 10 heavy airbus 3 mile mark. Okay, number 2.
Alright everyone, today we're going to be building our RealSimGear seat and frame that's designed to work with our Cirrus cockpit, Cirrus console, or our modular panel. Got Dustin with me today from RealSimGear. I'm Brad. We're going to be working together to put this thing together and show you how it's done. So as I mentioned before, first thing you want to do is take everything out of the box, get all the parts laid out. I'll show you each part as we go along so you know which part we're talking about. But you want to make sure they're all out and available for you so that you're not trying to search for parts. So the first part we're going to start with is kind of the main part of the seat frame. This is a squarish looking piece of steel that's got two slots in the front. This is actually the front of the seat, two slots, so that's going to go toward the front of the sim. And the first thing we're going to do is Dustin's going to put on the sliding rails for the seat itself. So it should be noted that the handle goes on the left side of the seat so that you pull it up, it can slide. And that's going to put the wider side of this slider. There's a narrow side and a wider side. The wider side is going to go up. So you should be noted when you're putting it on, you do have to slide them out of the way. You can't put the bolts through both pieces. You only want to put it through the narrow piece. So you have to slide it a little bit out of the way.
This one's stuck.
except the one Dustin has.
It is. Can you pull up? Open it up. There you go. There you go. Thanks, sir.
So we'll pull it one way to get one bolt in, and then you can slide it the other direction. And put the front bolt in. And these bolts are about 2 inches long. They'll come in the package of bolts, and there'll also be a nut that comes with it. Down from the top, through the frame. What I tend to do is I push it all the way back, just so that both sides are even. So before you tighten it down, just push it as far back as it'll go. Now you may need a wrench underneath. It's holding pretty well for me, but if it starts spinning that nut, you'll just need a wrench to hold the nut in place.
You got grease all over your hands like me.
That's right, and then you'll end up with grease. You may want to have a paper towel.
There you go. Good.
Good.
Are you even?
All right. All right, now we're going to attach the seat bottom to the frame. And again, what you're going to do is grab the seat bottom. The fat side, or the fatter side, is the front of the seat. So we're going to lay that on the floor with the front facing forward. And then we're going to take our frame that we put together and we're going to lay that on top of, well, first we're going to take the bolts out. Take the bolts out of the bottom of the seat frame. And then the frame lays on top of here with the handle forward. And there's 4 holes in the bottom of the seat itself. Okay, so then we can flip that frame and seat bottom over. And you'll see now that if you sit on it and pull up on the handle on the front side, the seat will slide back and forth. Okay, so we're going to set that aside for a little bit. We're going to work on the front. All right, now we're going to move on to the second piece of the frame. This is the front part of the frame that holds the desktop and the monitor stand. This piece looks like this. It's got 3 slots. It's the next biggest piece, so it's pretty obvious which piece it is. The 3 slots actually go toward the back. They're actually going to go toward the seat, so when it's all said and done, we'll have the frame that's going to connect to the seat like this. So I've just loosened up all the bolts so that we can easily slide things in each one of the slotted frames. And the first thing we'll do is we'll put on the desktop supports. That's these two pieces. They're at a right angle. That is angled back towards the same side as these slots are. One in the left, one in the right. Finger tight these for now, but the concept is this can actually adjust up and down about 4 inches. So once everything's put together, we can adjust this desktop height up and down 4 inches. So there's a lot of adjustability in this frame. Everything can move usually at least 4 inches. So in and out, up and down, left and right, a lot of things can be adjusted. So it makes it pretty easy. So we'll put that there. The next piece we're going to put on is the 2 risers for the monitor stand. You'll notice that there's a lower and an upper nut. Not sure that there's really any rhyme or reason as to which goes where. I'm going to put the lower nut toward the inside of the frame. Same way with this one. And we'll just tighten these up because this we're not going to really adjust on this side of it, but you could if you needed to. Okay. And we'll loosen these 2 nuts up, the bolts. And then the last piece is this. This is the monitor mount, so it's got a VESA mount here that you can mount a variety of different monitors to. That's going to go toward the inside of the frame, and it just slots down in these 2 pieces. And again, there is some adjustability if you need to go up and down. We're going to put it all the way down for now and just kind of snug up the 2 bolts on both sides. Now, I will point out too that the kit comes with a number of these thumb screws. So any place that you think you might need to adjust, you could also use these thumb screws instead of the bolts that come with it. So just something to point out there. Okay. And the next piece we put together is the foot plate for the rudder pedals. We're going to start with the cross. We'll need that piece. Put that down. We're going to need this piece here. It's got a little hook on the end, and that hook is going to go up. So we're going to slide this piece in with the little hook on it into the cross piece with the nuts and these 2 pivot points pointed up. We'll use a couple of the thumb screws to tighten that down. Now, I'll point out that this will also adjust in and out, and you'll see once we put the plate on here, but what this allows to do is as you move it out, it allows the plate to sit farther down or flatter. So that's primarily what you would use this for, is to raise the angle of the rudder pedal plate. I'm just going to leave it all the way in for now. Then we'll attach the rudder pedal plate. That's this plate looking thing here. On the back side, there's 2 bolts that go through the pivot points, so we'll take those out. For that pivot, I'll turn it around backwards so you can see on the camera. That pivot, this just goes on the inside of the 2 pivot points on the cross looking bracket, and then the bolts go back in. Now these don't need to get tightened completely. There's a bit of a gap between there just to allow for motion of the rudder pedal plate. So just kind of get them close. There'll be a little bit of a gap here. Just maybe try to get the gap about the same on both sides. It's really not holding anything from going anywhere. It's really just providing a pivot point for that plate. If you tighten it too much, it's probably just going to break the pivot points off. I'll just loosen this side up a bit. Tighten this side up a bit. And that's all I'm really looking for, is just being able to pivot. Now, as I mentioned, what happens is this little flip down thing comes down and it gets caught by this hook. And so if you adjust this hook outwards, this pivot will eventually go up, and that'll allow the plate to sit flatter. So for now, we'll use it. Now maybe I'll pull it out a little bit so that's sitting almost vertically. We'll do something like that. And that's out about 1.5 inches. Alright, then that sits on the floor, and that's going to slide the rest of it, the side that has all of these holes in it, will slide into the center piece. And then you'll find a nice keeper pin that you can use to put in these holes. This allows for easy adjustment once we have the seat built. You can put it in the hole you think you want, push forward on it, and it'll lock it down. And once you've got it where you need it to be, then you can just tighten this screw here. Actually, let's put a thumb screw on there, because that seems like a place that you would want to adjust quite often. Okay, so that's the front part of the sim. We'll move that out of the way for just a minute. We'll go back to the seat part. So this is the front of the seat. The seat comes with an armrest, and when you're using our Cirrus system, typically that armrest would be on the left side, so that's where we're going to put it today. So we've got the seat facing forward. We're looking at the left side. The first piece we're going to look for is a little L-looking piece. Loosen up the bolts on that. Loosen up the bolt here. That slides in on the left side of the frame. Again, I'm just going to finger tighten it for now. Then we're looking for this right angle piece. That will slide in to this. And then finally, you've got the armrest here, which will slide down in here, and you'll tighten that up. So there is quite a bit of adjustability in the armrest as well. As you can see, as we put it together, you can go out if you need to. I'm going to go all the way in. If you need to go forward and backwards, you can adjust that. And you tighten it down here. If you need to go up and down, we'll adjust up and down, tightening it here. And finally, the angle of this can be controlled. There's a bolt on the inside here that you can actually adjust, which will adjust the stop point of this to whatever angle you want it to be. So we'll just snug these up, and they're all the way pushed in position. Okay, so now we're ready to put the two pieces together. I guess we'll do it this way. So we've got our seat with the front of it. We've got our main chassis here. That will sit here like this. And what holds them together is there's two steel bars here, about 1 inch thick. And they slide into the seat frame. and they slide into the front part of the frame. Now I would suggest sliding these all the way forward till they're seated on the front part of the frame, and then you can adjust the seat on the back side if you need to after the fact. Okay, the back side would be another good place I think would be good for the thumb screw, so we're going to take the bolts out. Put in a couple of the thumb bolts. And you can push this together where you kind of need it to be. Okay, and then the last part of the frame itself, this is the base plate for the whatever panel you're using. You'll notice that the mounting brackets are offset, and that's designed because normally you're sitting here with your yoke and your panel extends off to the right. So you're going to put it on with the extension piece to the right. It's just going to slide over these two angle pieces. And you'll want to try to get it somewhat even on there. It can adjust in and out a little bit. And then I would use 2 more thumb screws underneath there, just in case you ever do need to adjust it. All right, we're getting close here. So the last piece is to put the seat back on. So you'll notice here that there are 2 bolts on both sides for the back of the seat base. So we'll take those out. All right, so you're going to want to grab, there's 2 hinge pieces here, and there is a warning disclaimer that comes with it. This piece with the spring and the white, just make sure you don't pull that handle, because if you pull the handle because of the spring, this can fly forward and do some serious damage to your fingers. So just be very careful around the spring loaded side. Try not to move the handle until you've got everything attached. So the spring side goes on the right side of the seat. So we'll just reattach it with the bolts we just removed. And I wouldn't tighten these all the way up until we have the seat back on, just so we can, if there's any pressure there, we can not have to worry about it pushing in on everything. So we'll just leave it somewhat loose for now. And then on the other side, here, same kind of deal. This one less dangerous, but you still could do some damage if you bang it down, so just be a little careful. And that'll go into the two holes. And then once we've got these, again, just don't tighten them up completely yet, because we're going to put the seat back on. So we'll grab the seat back, and again there are 2 bolts on either side, should already be in the seat frame or in the seat back. And then these 2 holes here, of course, will match up with the 2 holes on the hinges on either side. So we'll do this on this side here. So we'll just line those holes up again, put the bolts back in. And once you've got the seat in between the frame, then it's okay to go ahead and tighten everything up. All right, now that you've got this seat back attached, now it's okay to pull the handle and the seat will move like a car seat would you'd normally expect that to do. Now we're going to put the covers on. All right, there should be a bag. Plastic pieces came in. There'll be some screws in there, and there'll also be some plastic plugs. All right, we'll grab the plastic cover pieces. You'll notice there's two different angle looking ones, and then there's two vertical looking ones. The larger of the vertical looking ones, there's one here that's got a little extra pop out here. That goes with the bigger portion of the L, and these just snap together. There's a little bit of a ring on this piece. They just snap in there like that to give it some motion. So we'll do that on both sides. So there's 1, 2 places for the bolts to go in. That's going to line up with these two. So and then you'll take 2 of these little plastic plug inserts. They'll just plug into the hole to cover that hole up. Okay, so we've got it all together. You feel accomplished now. You've got a seat and a frame and everything ready to go. As you see, I'm sitting in it. My knees are banging up against the plate. I probably couldn't move my feet on the rudders if I wanted to. So this is where the adjustability comes in. Now, I found that, you know, things can move in and out, but this base plate, about the only thing it can do is go up and down. So I would kind of start with that. So we're going to just loosen up these thumb screws, and we're going to lift this up a bit, right? And try to get them both even on the same side. I'm going to go maybe a couple inches there. If you really feel like you need to be perfect, you can get a tape measure out. I'm just going to eyeball it for now. I've just lifted it up a couple inches, and you can see now I've got quite a bit more room around my knees. I could adjust the rudder pedals as necessary. If you've got your simulator system already, I would probably put it on here, get it secured, just so you can make sure the yoke is where you want it to be. Things like that. You can move this up or down if you want. Then the next piece I would probably do is go ahead and connect the rudder pedals to the plate. The plate is designed, it's got mounting holes for the Thrustmaster TPR, the Logitech rudder pedals, and I believe the Rudder, the Virtual Fly Rudder pedals. Any one of those will attach here. So I would get them attached so you kind of know where the rudder pedals are. And then what you can do is, again, you can loosen up this nut here in the middle. You can take this pin out, and this whole thing will slide back and forth. So if you need it farther out, you can push it out. If you need it closer in, you can push it in. But just kind of get it to where it feels like it's comfortable. And then you can put the pin in the next hole just to keep it from sliding out. So it's locked against there now. And then just tighten it down. Then of course the seat itself does slide in and out. So if, in my case, sliding it in gets me way too close and sliding it out probably doesn't get me quite far enough out, that's where you can go back to underneath the frame and loosen up those thumb screws and just pull the seat away from the frame. I found it's best to just kind of get behind it like this and push on the frame. Just move it back so you've got plenty of room getting in and out of the sim. Tighten those down. Now I can get in and out of the sim pretty easily, and the seat moves far enough forward that I can get it adjusted where I want it to be. Finally, the armrest. Armrest feels a little low for me, so as we mentioned, we can loosen up this nut on the side. Just raise that up a little bit. You could also put a thumb screw here, but this is probably one that once it's set, you're probably not going to move it around. So now you're good to go for an armrest on the yoke. So that's just something you got to play with. You know, once you get it all put together, you just have to kind of adjust it around to get it where you want it to be. Get stuff so you're not banging your knees. Get stuff so you're not interfering. But as you see, there's a lot of adjustability here. The last piece we'll talk about here is the monitor mount. So we don't have a monitor to put on it here today, but this again is a VESA monitor mount, so it's designed to fit a wall mount of like a 4K TV, or if you've got a widescreen monitor, it should come with the some mounting hardware to mount directly to that. And again, if you need to move it up and down, if once you get it attached, it's too high or too low, you can't move it much lower than it is, you can just loosen these two bolts up on either side. This whole thing will pull up till you get the monitor to the right height. There are some optional kits as well available. They don't ship with this system, but they can be purchased separately. That's what these are for here. You can take this plug out, you can loosen these two up, and then there are some monitor extensions that you can add on here. And that would allow you to get a 3-screen if you've got 3 smaller screens. Typically we sell our systems with a single screen, so that's why these are not part of the main kit. This is how you put together one of the RealSimGear seat and frames. Hopefully you get a lot of enjoyment out of the system. It works very well. We'll do another video showing this system with a variety of our different simulator packages, just showing how they sit and mount to this system. Thanks for watching.